Yoel Romero is not a good MMA wrestler, and I feel like I'm going to be the first person to stick my neck out on the line and say this, because every single where I look to hear people talk about MMA, they talk about Yoel Romero and how great he is at wrestling, and how he's such a threat for Israel Adesanya. Let me tell you this, if you're coming at me with the Israel Adesanya Yoel Romero fight prediction, and words like this come out of your mouth, Yoel Romero is really dangerous for Israel Adesanya because of the wrestling, you don't know what you're talking about. Yoel Romero is dangerous to Israel Adesanya the same way Yoel Romero is dangerous to everyone else he faces. He's got a big right hand. He's got a big left hand. He can land them at times. He also has a flying knee. He has short, explosive movements while standing that can KO you. I am sick of hearing that Yoel Romero is this phenomenal wrestler and he really poses people issues in terms of wrestling, because I know that what's going to happen is Joe Rogan right now is building up Yoel Romero as a wrestler and saying that the wrestling of Yoel Romero is going to be a problem for Israel Adesanya. What's going to happen is Adesanya is going to defend a takedown like everyone does against Yoel Romero, and Joe Rogan and everyone else is going to say, Adesanya just out-wrestled Yoel Romero. Is Adesanya Olympic level wrestling? That's what they're going to go to. That's what credit they're going to give him. I don't think people understand this. They hear that someone has placed medal in the Olympics. Someone has a medal in the Olympics for wrestling, and Yoel Romero is placed in a medal situation every single time he competed. And people hear that and they go crazy. Chael fucking P. Sonnen, years ago, said this better than anyone else. Yoel Romero does Olympic style wrestling, okay? Olympian wrestling, which is the art of getting someone to the ground and then stop, beep. You get a point, everyone stand back up, and then we're going to start these things again. Next person to take whoever the next guy is down, we're going to stand you back up and you're going to get a point. Collegiate wrestling is what is practiced in American colleges, hence collegiate, okay? It is the art of getting your opponent to the ground and then controlling them in various positions and establishing dominant control on top of your opponent. Okay? And that's what collegiate wrestling is. And that's the difference between Yoel Romero and the people that train in America in wrestling. And you see it over and over again. Yoel Romero cannot take people down and hold them there. It doesn't happen. And I beg you to find any example of it happening other than in the Lyoto Machida fight, where he landed an elbow on Lyoto Machida pretty much as soon as they hit the floor. As soon as they hit the floor between him and Machida, Yoel Romero just uncorked an elbow and KO'd Lyoto Machida from there. So there wasn't really much we learned. But every other fight I watch of Yoel Romero, his wrestling, when are we going to admit this, is hot fucking trash compared to everyone else. Okay? How many Robert Whitakers, a karate guy who picked up wrestling along the way, are we going to have to see stuff Yoel Romero's takedowns and get straight back up before we address the realism in what's going on? Yoel Romero can't wrestle for shit in MMA. You put Yoel Romero back in the Olympics, I'm sure he does very well in his prime. In Yoel Romero's prime, I'm sure he was a phenomenal Olympic wrestler. But as far as an MMA wrestler, when you've got guys like Khabib going around, and you've got stuff like what Usman did to Tyron Woodley, Yoel Romero don't hold a fucking candle to those guys. He can't hold anyone down. He can't barely take certain guys down. Whitaker had one fucking leg and one fucking hand in both fights. First fight he had one leg. Second fight he had one hand and a half. His other hand was fractured, but it was still throwable. And he was stuffing everything Yoel Romero did and getting back up. Yoel Romero was trying sweeps on him. Whitaker was getting straight back up. Out scrambling him with a torn ACL. When are we going to address the fucking elephant in the room? Yoel Romero, just because he has a fucking 8-pack, I appreciate that. Yoel Romero is a very ripped and aesthetic man. Let's not get carried away. He's shit at MMA wrestling. People keep bringing it up like, oh, the wrestling is going to be a real big problem for Adesanya. Adesanya's going to stuff every single takedown that Yoel Romero throws his way. Yoel Romero might get him down. You know what Adesanya's going to do if he gets to the ground? He's going to get straight back up because Yoel Romero has no ground control whatsoever. Promise you that's what's going to happen. And we can go through Yoel Romero's career right now. Every time he took down Paulo Costa, Brazilian brute who picked up things along the way in terms of grappling. Yoel Romero takes him down. Olympian. He's such a freak of nature. Every single medal, he placed a medal every single Olympics that he went to. He's one of the best wrestlers in MMA. takes down Paulo Costa. Costa reverses it like it's nothing, ends up on top. Twice that happened in the fight. Next, he fights Robert Whittaker, who had one hand and a half. Defended everything, never got held down. In the second fight especially, he did get knocked down a couple times, but in terms of being held down, never happened. And Yoel Romero was trying sweeps in the clinch, especially once he had Whittaker hurt. And even Whittaker, with half his fucking brain left from being hit by Yoel Romero, was able to get back up from the takedowns. In the fight with Luke Rockhold, pretty much no grappling. In the first fight with Robert Whittaker with a torn ACL, there were moments in the fight where Yoel Romero was on top, yes. Other than that, completely out-scrambled Yoel with a torn ACL. And there were moments in the fight with Whittaker, if you remember, when Yoel Romero was on top of Whittaker, and Whittaker had butterfly guards, and his knee was so fucked, he gave up butterfly guards to get full guard on Yoel Romero. And that's the only time that Romero has established ground control. I go to his fight with Chris Weidman, where even though he wasn't being taken down and held down, he's being out-wrestled by Chris Weidman. Okay? He couldn't take Chris Weidman down. He was very athletic, don't get me wrong, and Weidman was very tenacious with some of them shots. Yoel Romero, great wrestling defense. But in terms of getting a guy down and implementing like a Khabib would, it's not going to be the same. I look at the Jacare Souza fight. I thought Jacare won that fight. If you take away one moment with the spinning back fist, Jacare wins that fight every fucking day. Okay? The only argument is that Yoel Romero dropped him with the spinning back fist. But other than that, there's no argument. Jacare fucking wins. Then we move on. Lyoto Machida, I've already explained that one. Tim Kennedy. Yoel gassing out, trying to wrestle with Tim Kennedy. And Derek Brunson out wrestling Yoel Romero until eventually gassing out and Yoel Romero getting the better of him in the third round after Yoel Romero shit his fucking pants from being out wrestled so bad and losing. Oh, I'm sick of it, man. People that don't know what they're fucking talking about are the voices of MMA. And it makes no sense. Joe Rogan talking about the wrestling's going to be a real big issue for Israel Adesanya. No, it's fucking not. Adesanya's going to stuff every takedown. This is my prediction for the fight. Adesanya wins, by the way. I feel like we're giving way too much. We're trying to give credit to Adesanya. That's what I feel like the MMA media is doing right now. And I don't know if I'm the only guy noticing it, but even the way that the MMA media reacted to him calling out Yoel Romero, he dared call out the beast. What fucking beast loses 3 out of their last 4 fights? What beast are we talking about here? We're acting like this is more dangerous than him versus Costa. We're acting like this is more dangerous than him versus Whittaker, who, by the way, beat Yoel Romero at least once. If you think the second fight's a draw, I understand. If you think Yoel Romero won the second fight, you're just flat wrong. If you think it was a draw, I can get that one. So maybe we'll say who lost to Robert Whittaker at least once. Was Adesanya so fucking brave to call out Robert Whittaker for a title shot? Did we make a big deal out of that? Was Adesanya so brave and courageous for calling out Paulo Costa after Paulo Costa just beat Yoel Romero? No. I feel like what we're trying to do here, the media is trying to make the best of a shit situation, which is Yoel Romero shouldn't be getting a title shot, and now that he's got a title shot, we're combing shit. That's what we're doing. That's my saying for this. We're combing shit. We're putting a little bit of hairspray and putting a comb through and just making it look all nice, but a piece of shit is what we're doing. Okay, we're making it look nice, and I don't understand. We're trying to hype up this fight, and I get it. Oh, the wrestling's going to be an issue. No, it's fucking not. If Yoel Romero tries to take Adesanya down, Adesanya's going to stuff the takedown. If Yoel Romero gets Adesanya down, Adesanya's going to get straight back up. That's what's going to happen, and I'm sick of people talking about it otherwise. They're acting like Adesanya has some fat hole in his wrestling game. Which I agree. If there's going to be a hole in Adesanya's game, it's going to be his wrestling. But Yoel fucking Romero, who hasn't dominantly wrestled someone ever in his career, is not going to be the guy that poses a wrestling threat to Adesanya. That's not the fucking case whatsoever. Got really red now. I got really emotional about that one now. That's really pissing me off, and I'm glad I've got it off my chest. I really have, because it's just fucking, it's foolishness. Over and over and over again, we hear the same thing. Yoel Romero this, Yoel Romero that, Yoel Romero this. He has an 8-pack, so fucking what? He's not a monster. I respect him for daring to call out the beast. Oh, you mean that beast who's lost 3 out of his last 4. And even if you think the Whittaker fight was a draw, he's won 1 out of his last 4. That's another way of putting things. Even if you think the Whittaker fight was a draw in the rematch. And if you think Costa lost in the fight between Yoel Romero and Paulo Costa, then you're listening to it with Joe Rogan's commentary, and you need to turn that shit off real quick, because I've seen the comments on the Yoel Romero-Paulo Costa fight, and people saying, I've watched it 20 times and I still think that Yoel Romero won. How many times you watched it without Joe Rogan's voice? Because I tell you this, if I was good at editing, I wish I was fucking good at editing, I'd make a video of every time Joe Rogan doesn't call out what an opponent's doing when they're fighting Yoel Romero. Whittaker, and it's the same thing with the Whittaker situation. I think I'm just shitting on Joe Rogan in this video. Joe Rogan comes out and goes, "Ow!" That's all Joe Rogan does on the microphone. Every time Yoel Romero does anything, "Oh, Whittaker's hurt." And Yoel Romero's just landing pitter-patter shots against the cage. Whittaker's covering, rolling. Knee on the inside from Whittaker, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, 3rd round. This is why Joe Rogan thinks the 3rd round was a 10-8 to Yoel. Hey, Rogan, Whittaker just landed a knee to the body. We're going to call that shit out? Hey, Rogan, Whittaker just landed a side kick to the body while moving away from Yoel. We're going to call that one out? What about that head kick, Joe? What about that elbow in the clinch? What about the other elbow in the clinch? What about the other knee that Robert Whittaker just landed? I don't understand. You watched the Yoel versus Paulo Costa fight again. I dare you. Watch the fight. Count. Let's play a game. I want all of you to... This is your homework from me today. I want all of you to come off this video, and I want you to go watch the Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero fight. I want you to make a tally. And if you're willing to be unbiased with me here, I want you to make a tally. Not of the strikes landed, but I want you to make a tally of the strikes landed. And then for each strike that lands, I want you to give a tally on what strikes the commentators call out landing. That's what I want you to do. I want you to compare the strikes landed for both gentlemen, Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero. I want you to switch on Joe Rogan's commentary and the rest of the commentary that was at the desk. And I want you guys to call out every time they address that something happened. Because there are minutes that go by where Paulo Costa's ripping to the body and landing body kicks and landing leg kicks and landing jabs and landing multiple combinations against the cage, where the fucking commentary is complete silence. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button now. Spat all over my screen. See you later.